Dr. Unati here. Today I want us to do part 3 of our discussion. We're still talking about our children, and one of the moms asked, how do we talk about sex? How do I talk about drugs with my children? So today we're going to talk about that. So I always say this to parents, even this is how I approach it with my own child. My son is 11. Know your child's maturity. How old is your child? 2, how much does he or she knows? How much does he know anything about sex and drugs? That's your starting point. So you don't want to overwhelm your child who is not mature enough to even process what you want to talk about. So maturity is the fundamental thing you have to look at. 2, thank God schools now are very open to discussing these issues. But again, schools, they also ask for permission from parents if it's okay for your child to be in such a class when they're going to discuss that. Well, that's what happens in my own city or in our country here in Canada. So 2, basically, are you ready for your child to be educated on these issues? So that's something you have to discuss with your spouse, okay, or your partner. Number 3, I know that a lot of times people talk about, our principles, we're a Christian family, all that stuff, and that's okay. We're a Muslim family, we're conservative. That's okay. That's your principles, values. No one is going to dispute that. I am also a Christian. I'm a family doctor, but you know what? I'm very practical. When it comes to these issues, I'm very practical because I've seen children who have parents who hold big places in their communities, pastors, all those people, and their children struggle with these issues. So for me, I take children as humans. So are the parents. So when I talk to any parent, even if this parent is a pastor or whoever this person has a position in the community or in the society, remember they're also humans. They still need advice from the professionals. So I approach it that way. Children are children. I said it yesterday. Children, it doesn't matter if their fathers, their mothers are pastors in their communities. The children will still have the same struggles like other children in the community. So I don't usually say, oh, this is a pastor's child, so we should go this far when we're talking. So maturity, number 1. 2, how much is your child, or you as a family, how ready you are for the school to take part in educating your child. And then the other thing, I believe that all of us here, we have some basic education. Take a biology book. And fortunately, internet is there now with everything. There's pictures. Bring up a picture that shows men and women, a woman's pictures, like sex organs, and start educating your child. And you know what? I always emphasize to parents, name things by their names. I know that a lot of times parents, they will name genitalia with, it's a sheep, it's a goat. Guys, we need to stop that because a lot of times people that are abusive, pedophiles, they take advantage of that. That because you have decided not to name the organs as their names, and then unfortunately they take actually advantage of that. So when you are educating your child, when you have this biology book or internet, open something that is relevant or that would be more understandable to your child according to his or her age, and start naming things by their names, okay? And then also pull up something that is familiar. Fortunately, we watch series. There's a lot of drama, like in South Africa, there's so many series I follow that talk about drugs. Pull up something that is relevant too. If you want to talk about drugs, pull up a person your child can relate to, someone who looks like him or her, right? That at least when you visualize, you use something that will be remembered. You use a person that is relatable. Or maybe there's a lot of movies that also would have a child struggling with either, maybe there's absent parents and then these kids maybe are struggling with drug abuse. Use things that are more practical and relevant to your child so that your child can remember and can relate. I don't want to overwhelm you. So as I said, and also that's when you bring in your principles, and also just not even about principles, just the self-love. We need to start talking about self-compassion, self-love, kindness. Once our children understand their value and their importance in the society, you are basically building your child's self-esteem to say no to these things. You understand? Because the world is out there to devour our children. So once we start teaching our kids self-love, self-compassion, self-confidence, personal power, those are the things that would sustain your child from the pressures of this world. Alrighty? And how do we do that? You as a parent, be confident who you are. Do you stand in front of a mirror and bash your weight? You bash yourself? Do you go all out and speak negatively about other people? How do you come across? How do you come across to your children? Can they learn? When you are not around, can your children remember good things about you? So those are the little things sometimes we don't pay attention to as parents. So your self-confidence is fundamental. How you also see yourself is very important. And that's how your child will learn from you. Be that, a lot of times we always ask, who is your hero? Who's your role model? Our children, we need to be those first role models to our children. All right, guys, take care. We're going to bring part 4 of this because I still want to explore more on how do we even go deeper in these discussions. But first things first, maturity is fundamental. 2, how ready are you to get the school involved? Because schools are involved nowadays. They're speaking deeply, and we actually have allowed our child to be in such classes because we also had started discussing issues like we talked about puberty. Talk about menstruation, what your child needs to expect, and also talk about pregnancy. Talk about sexually transmitted infections, right? Talk about the importance of saying no to someone who is who has inappropriate action towards your child. So talk about those things openly so that your child can build that self-control and self-love and the ability to say no to things that are inappropriate. All right, guys, take care. Enjoy your day.